the Compress 1200 bed install video. We're starting with the bed removed, and this is already gonna be installed, but there's 4 indexing pins we're gonna give you installed onto the uprights here. They'll already be in there. These are just for getting the bed in the right position. So after we put the bed on, we're gonna magnetize an Allen key and remove these 4 pins on the 4 uprights. The front ones are towards the front holes, the rear ones are towards the rear holes. Okay, we're gonna mount the bed, 3-person minimum job. Now we're gonna get down and line up the 2 holes here, 2 holes over there with the uprights. Gotta go forward on my side. Okay, so next we are going to insert our bed screws, bed mount screws, 4mm Allen key, and we will put the screw in. Remember, we have the indexing pin in this hole, so we're putting the mounting screw in this hole, and we're just going to tighten that down so we get it in the right position. Don't put it all the way just yet. And now I have my 2.5mm and a magnet, and we're gonna rub the magnet on the wrench to magnetize it. We are removing the index pin now with a magnetized Allen wrench, like so. Set that aside. Get your other bed mount screw and screw it down just finger tight. And we're going to go around and repeat this process 3 more times at the other sets of bed mount screws. All right, now we're going to attach the guides for the lift rails. It's got 2 wheels. There's 2 sets of T-nuts on here. They're going to be tightened down. The way these T-nuts work, you're going to have to loosen them almost all the way. Don't take them off, but just loosen them so you have just a couple threads on. Because these T-nuts go into the channel up here, and then you need the T-nut to spin 90 degrees and then tighten down. If they're not loose enough, it doesn't work. So just lift this up to the bed, line the T-nut up so it goes into this T-slot up here on the black aluminum frame. And then take your 4mm and just give it a good quick spin. The first couple spins should be kind of quick to get it to turn. If you feel it getting stuck, loosen it a little and then give it another quick spin. And then you want to, after it feels like it's tightened, you want to look up in there and make sure that the T-nut spun. Like this one just didn't spin. So I'm loosening it almost all the way. Give it a quick like half turn and then up. Just saw it spin 90, and I got a good nice connection now. And make sure you check both sides that they spun 90, and then once they're nice and 90 degrees, then go ahead and crank them down. And just repeat this process on the other side. Now we're going to run the wires for the bed motor. First want to go over this panel. So the first connection is going to be right here. You're going to zip tie. You want to leave a little slack and zip tie it right there. Zip tie here, zip tie here, zip tie here, zip tie here. After this one, there's a little pass through right here. Like so. Once you get here, you're going to start zip tying on the inside here. So then you're zip tying here, here, and then now we're plugging these in. There's only one way to plug these in. They're keyed. This is all the directional controls. This is the power. The power has two small flathead screws that you're going to have to tighten. So we'll do that one first. Plugging it into the motor controller. Once that's plugged in, there's an access hole here for your screwdriver. So you can get your screwdriver in there and tighten that down. Then these are also keyed. They're only going to go one way. Put that up there. And get that nice and tight. Firmly mounted. And then this wire will be all zip tied up nice and clean because we have a cover that goes on this here. We're installing the bottom motor guard. It's a small Phillips button head. These four holes right here are where you're putting the screws. This little cutout lines up with this mounting block for the motor, just like that. Get the screws started. Like so. These other holes are just access holes right here. So don't worry about those. You're not missing anything. And we're done.
Yes, sir.
All right, now we're running this bundle of cables for all our buttons up front. We're just gonna pull it up just a little bit so that the loom is up near the frame. Like so. And then we're going to push all these wires into this channel like so. And then we have this slot filler right here. And the slot filler will snap into the T-slot. And secure all those wires like so. Most of the buttons just all plug in the same. This PL sensor is a little different. It's labeled PL sensor. You're going to plug it in here. Plugs in only one way. There's a little snap on one side. Then it kind of tucks into the channel. And then you're going to run this wire underneath here, and there's another zip tie mount down here where you're going to zip tie the wire in place, and then install some slot filler over the rest of these cables, and we're ready to move on to mounting the enclosure. All right, we're going to mount the red enclosure for the right side. All these plugs are labeled, so just match them up with each other. We have up and down. So just go through, find the correct ones, and plug them in. Down. We got load and eject. There's two labeled LED. They're just, one's 3-pin and one is 4-pin. So you're only going to be able to plug them in one way. If it doesn't feel like it's fitting, it goes the other way. Don't force it. Then you have one labeled, well, looky there. So there is one that you can plug in wrong. LED, 3-pin LED, make sure LED goes to LED, 3-pin LED. Then you have your 5-volt line. This is for the motor power. So make sure you get the two that are unlabeled. Well, they are labeled right on this red, white, blue. See, red says 5 volts right there. So make sure you get those all plugged in correctly. And then they all just kind of tuck in to this enclosure here, into the wide part. And there's a little slot here that lines up with this metal piece, this silver metal piece. See the opening there? You just kind of line that up. Then you're going to have two Phillips on top here. All right, at the end of this long slotted hole here is where this bottom Phillips gets screwed. Don't tighten it down all the way. You want to come up top and check that this enclosure is not rubbing on the bed here. So before you tighten it all the way down, make sure it's not like that. You want a space in between here. So a little space, and then we'll go ahead and crank them down. So we're going to run the home sensor wire now. This goes all the way from this front bundle, and we're going to tuck it in here to the T-slot. It's going past this rail here, so you need the longest slot filler piece in your bunch. And then I just kind of get it started and then push it back to slide it backwards. So I got it started there, and then I'm going to push it until I get it past this rail, so the rail never gets pinched in there, or the wire never gets pinched in there. All right, we're installing the rear panel, the internal rear panel, two-person job. Start by sliding this under here to your buddy. Raise it up into position and put your top screws in. You're ready. Mounting the rear panel, two-person job as well. You want to just get this lip in place. And then we're going to start with these two screws here. Don't tighten them all the way yet because you're going to have to probably shimmy it around a little bit to get all the holes aligned. These two holes here and two holes over there, they don't get screws. Those are for mounting the spindle. And then you have two holes on the side, three holes down here, and two holes on that side. They all get screws as well. And then you're done. Now, depending on how much clearance you needed, you may have had to remove this WIM system. So I'm just going to point out all the screws that mount this system. So you have two here, one in the middle, and two here. Also, there's a little guard here for the tubes and wires that can come off, give you a little more clearance. It's just two screws here. Just make sure you don't pinch anything.